In a forest where the trees reached for the clouds like straight green arrows, lived a wise bear named Eloin and her curious cub, Arvid. They spent their mornings wandering through the tall pines, sniffing the sweet scent of needles and listening to the wind whistle through the high branches. Deep in the meadow, they came across a tree that didn't look like the others. It was a pine tree, but it didn't grow straight up. Instead, its trunk bent low to the ground and then turned sideways, looking like a giant wooden elbow resting on the grass. Arvid stopped and began to giggle. "Look, Mama," Arvid cried, clutching his tummy. "This tree is broken. It's all crooked and silly. It doesn't know how to be a proper tree at all." Elwin walked over and sat beside him, looking at the strange tree with a soft, respectful gaze. "Every tree has its own path, Arvid," Elwin said softly. "Just because it is different doesn't mean it isn't strong. The forest has a place for everyone." Arvid shrugged his shoulders. He didn't see how a tree that couldn't even stand up straight could be much of a tree. Suddenly, the air grew cold. The golden sunlight vanished as heavy clouds rolled over the forest like a thick blanket. A fierce wind began to howl, and the tall, straight trees started to sway and creak dangerously. "A storm is coming," Elwin called out over the roar of the wind. Rain began to pour down in icy sheets. Elwin nudged Arvid toward the crooked pine tree. Because it grew sideways and low, its thick, heavy branches created a wide, dry space right against the earth. They crawled underneath, finding themselves in a cozy wooden room. As they sat in the dry shade, a tiny squirrel with fur soaked through by the rain came scurrying toward them. Arvid watched as the little creature shook itself dry and found a spot near his paws. The squirrel looked up at the crooked roof and let out a happy chatter. Soon, a shivering rabbit hopped in from the cold. Elwin moved back to make room for the new guest. The rabbit huddled close to Elwin's warm fur, safe from the lashing rain and the snapping branches of the taller trees. The crooked tree held steady, blocking the wind. Arvid looked out at the tall, straight trees he had admired before. They were tossing and turning, losing their needles in the gale. He looked at the crooked tree that was keeping them all safe. "I understand now, Mama," he whispered. "The other trees are beautiful, but this tree is a hero." The storm passed, leaving the forest sparkling and fresh. As the animals stepped out into the sun, Arvid patted the rough, sideways bark of the pine tree. He learned that being different isn't a mistake. Sometimes it's exactly what the world needs to stay safe and warm.